Fire from Russian forces on Thursday. Meanwhile, back in Moscow, lawmakers today could impose new rules on the media.
Any anti-government reporting could soon be punishable by up to 15 years in jail. But the Kremlin's already strict control over the media is shaping how Russians view this war. This morning, with more than 1 million Ukrainians having fled their country, more men and women are rushing into Ukraine to fight the Russians.
We don't need people who really want to learn or do something bad.
A display of bravery and defiance, one of many seen among Ukrainians in recent days. From Kyiv to Lviv, everyday people taking a stand against the invading army.
There's a do-or-die moment for Ukraine.
Citizens lining up for guns.
There's shotguns and the expensive sniper rifles.
Hundreds staying in harm's way to help save their country.
It's impossible to stay at home now. You just have to do something to help.
But this invasion is not so cut and dry for those on the other side of the war. Like these Russians who tell ABC's James Longman they support what they believe is an effort to free their neighbors from what they've been told is fascist control of Ukraine.
This lady has just stopped us to say that she completely believes in what the government is saying they're doing in Ukraine, but she wants to make it very clear they love Ukrainians. They don't want to see them hurt. They love Ukraine. Love Ukraine. Yeah. That's the direction they're coming at it from. This is not about hurting Ukraine. They want to say that Russia is trying to save Ukraine, and that is exactly what Vladimir Putin has been telling his people for days, weeks, and months.
For those living through the horrors of the invasion, a simple message.
What would you say to the Russian women your age on the other side?
I think turn off their TV sets and listen to us and maybe open their eyes and look to the whole world and listen to it.
And coming up in just a few minutes, we'll hear from Americans joining the fight in Ukraine.
New video confirms a Russian attack destroyed the world's largest plane. The massive cargo plane was stored outside Kyiv. It was unclear if the strike damaged the plane, but new video from a news report shows it was destroyed.
And coming up, the TV star heading into space.
Plus, 2 bald eagle parents making big news.
This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes.
You got intrigue, deceit, fantasy. It's all there.
Can't peel your eyes away.
Any comments, Elizabeth? Any comments, Elizabeth?
God bless you, girl boss.
The new man in her life, the new baby. And now, as Elizabeth Holmes awaits sentencing, what you haven't seen, haven't heard.
Behind the scenes, it was an absolute mess.
My jaw dropped.
Part of the human trait, being fascinated by a train wreck.
I was blown away.
The new 2020 tonight on ABC.
Tonight, as the world isolates Russia for attacking Ukraine and its people, David Muir reports from the region on families Putin has now turned into millions of refugees. World News Tonight with David Muir is the most watched program on all of television.
Take America's #1 news with you, anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now. America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you, anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion. The ending's really tough.
You don't know when the truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
Ready for a little DMA-ish promo? Okay, here we go. DMA 7A every day with Robin, George, and Michael. That's how you start the day. Boom!
Time now to check the pulse, and we begin with some excellent news from California.
That's exactly what I was thinking. All right, a pair of bald eagles have something to squawk about after their hatchling emerged from its egg. Take a peep. An SKM caught the eagle's first moments out of its shell 2 days after the first signs of the hatching. The Friends of Big Bear Valley posted the good news on Facebook, writing, "We have a chick. Shadow was on the nest for the hatching, and he is a proud daddy."
Congrats to them.
All right, next, stars in space. A little different, though. Pete Davidson may be the next celebrity to shoot for the stars.
That's right. The SNL comedian is reportedly close to signing a deal to blast into space with Jeff Bezos. The New York Post reports details of the Blue Origin flight are being finalized.
And Davidson, look, he's hitting it off with everyone these days. That includes, reportedly, Jeff Bezos. When he and his girlfriend Kim Kardashian went to an event at the billionaire's home. It was a lavish party. All right, and next to America and our obsession with trivia, Netflix now cashing in, launching a new interactive game series.
It is called Trivia Quest. New episodes will be available daily. Each of them will pose 24 multiple-choice questions on a range of subjects.
So we're told that half the questions will be on the easier side, the other half, though, much harder. The competition begins next month. Mona, you ready?
I'm ready. And finally, it's not just Friday. We're also celebrating 2 important things today.
It is National Snack Day, and according to a recent poll, the #1 snack in America is broccoli. Can you? No, I'm just kidding. It's M&M's, followed by Oreos and Ritz crackers.
You had me in the first half. And you should have plenty of time to snack today because it's also National Day of Unplugging. People are encouraged to go device-free for 24 hours. Just hold on 1 second. I just need just 5 minutes, and then we'll go device-free, I promise. See? That's it.
Oh, sorry.
Top headlines next.
This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes.
You got intrigue, deceit, fantasy. It's all there.
Can't peel your eyes away.
Any comments, Elizabeth? Any comments, Elizabeth?
God bless you, girl boss.
The new man in her life, the new baby. And now, as Elizabeth Holmes awaits sentencing, what you haven't seen, haven't heard.
Behind the scenes, it was an absolute mess.
My jaw dropped.
Part of the human trait, being fascinated by a train wreck.
I was blown away.
The new 2020 tonight on ABC.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, What You Need to Know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it. Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now. This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yeah. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live? What would you do? I guess I just found out. The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Checking the top stories, shelling by Russian forces in Ukraine ignited a fire overnight at Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Ukraine's president warned it could trigger a disaster 6 times worse than Chernobyl. The fire is now out, and officials say radiation levels were not elevated. Meanwhile, as Russia escalates its assault on civilian areas, sources tell ABC News that Vladimir Putin has already selected a puppet government to install in Ukraine.
U.S. Navy has salvaged the F-35 fighter jet that crashed into an aircraft carrier and fell into the South China Sea in January. The jet was recovered from 12,000 feet of water.
At least 10 people were injured when this apartment building exploded in Silver Spring, Maryland. The cause is under investigation. 100 people have lost their homes.
Today's weather, rain on the west coast and mountain snow from the Sierra Nevada to the Rockies, mild in the plains, while a blast of cold air moves into the northeast.
And finally, the Americans who are joining the fight in Ukraine.
Will Gans has their story.
Over the past 8 days, the world has seen the remarkable resolve of Ukrainian citizens stepping up to defend their democracy. And now, Americans joining them on the front lines.
I'm going to hop a flight, hopefully all the way to Warsaw, and join up with the Ukrainians and help them however they want me to help them.
Brian, a Marine Corps veteran, marrying his fiancée Mia early in Salt Lake City on Wednesday after deciding to join the Ukrainian Defense Forces.
It feels hard, but it feels right. Yeah, it's 100% the right thing to do.
The couple delaying their honeymoon. Brian saying it's his calling to help because if he steps up, it means he can possibly take the place of a young teen from having to defend their country right now. And in New York, Tatiana and Roman Gulak both headed back to Poland to volunteer. Once there, they will decide whether or not they will cross the border to join the resistance.
When someone is trying to take your land, you don't care about all this, how you will go, whom you will join. You just go there, you join, you fight.
I will decide. I'm not telling that I will be picking up guns, but I will definitely do whatever I can do till the end.
And on Long Island, a county executive announcing a gun drive for Ukrainian citizens fighting against Russian forces.
We want rifles, AR-15s, and shotguns.
The drive coming after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pleaded for more weaponry for his forces. Of course, there's a ton of red tape around something like a gun drive. Nassau County executives asking for help from the federal government to get these guns to forces in Ukraine who so desperately need them. Mona, Andrew.
Our thanks to Will Gans there. We've been telling you all week about people just trying to help.
Definitely, and that's what's making news in America this morning.
Stay with us for Good Morning.
Right now on America This Morning, breaking news. A nuclear power plant in Ukraine comes under attack from Russian forces, igniting a fire. Crews overnight putting out that fire, but Russians taking control of the plant.
This morning, we talked to an expert about the growing concerns around nuclear safety in the war zone. Plus, new details overnight about what the Kremlin is planning to do in Ukraine after the war. And a new challenge for Ukrainians, just now receiving American-made weapons.
Also this morning, we talked to people heading back into Ukraine to fight. Plus, our team in Russia talking to those who support Vladimir Putin as the Russian media faces even tougher new restrictions.
Here at home, $6 a gallon for gas. The steady increase in prices, what the White House is now saying.
In other news, a new plan to address the homeless crisis. Should homeless Americans be forced into treatment?
A California mother is arrested, accused of faking her abduction to go live with her ex-boyfriend. How police crack the case.
And later, Americans' growing obsession with trivia. How Netflix is trying to capitalize on it.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We begin with breaking news. The intense fighting in Ukraine has now reached a major nuclear power plant.
The plant came under attack from heavy shelling, which ignited a fire. Officials say that fire is now out, but it raises major concerns about nuclear safety during this war.
Meanwhile, this stunning headline overnight, a senior U.S. official telling ABC News that Russian officials have already selected a puppet government for Ukraine to run the country after the war. It comes as Russian forces make progress, taking control of more areas in southern Ukraine.
The latest from the battlefield in a moment, but first, the scene at that nuclear plant. This morning, growing fears of an unfolding nuclear disaster in Ukraine, where authorities say Russian forces attacked the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, the largest in Europe. Cameras at the plant streaming the shelling of the facility live online.
Please help us.
A spokesperson for the plant says a nuclear accident could happen at any moment after Russian missiles fell directly on the facility, setting fire to one of its 6 reactors. That reactor is under renovation and not operating, but there is nuclear fuel inside. Experts say one of the biggest concerns, the plant's crucial electrical system.
A fire could disable the cooling systems, the electrical systems of the plant that could lead to a disruption of cooling of the highly radioactive hot nuclear fuel and spent fuel. And if that cooling is not restored, within a matter of hours, you could potentially see reactors experiencing core melt accidents and potential releases of radioactivity.
In 2011, a failing electrical system is what caused the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan after an earthquake.
There are a lot of delicate aspects to the plant. This certainly could be bad.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky pleading for an immediate intervention when the fire broke out, saying Russia wants to repeat Chernobyl, but 6 times worse.
I don't think the fire is going to cause or to make the decisions within the Biden administration change any differently.
Again, the fire at the nuclear plant is now out, but the mayor says the plant and the town are now under Russian control.
Now to the battlefield in Ukraine. New high-resolution satellite images show that 40-mile-long Russian convoy approaching Kyiv. Other Russian troops are gaining traction to the south, potentially cutting off Ukraine from the Black Sea. And now Ukrainian forces are running into another problem. Ukrainians using American-made weapons are running into an unforeseen problem after the U.S. sent them hundreds of anti-aircraft Stinger missiles like these. A senior administration official telling ABC News overnight that some of those weapons are technologically sophisticated and there's no one to train the Ukrainians. And the same official says the Kremlin has already selected and prepared a puppet regime to take over Ukraine's government. Russian President Putin claims the invasion is going strictly according to plan, despite fierce resistance. On Thursday, Putin spent 90 minutes on the phone with French President Macron. A source in the French government then saying the fear is the worst is yet to come. It comes as Russian airstrikes hit more civilian areas. North of the capital, Kyiv, this dashcam video shows multiple projectiles about to strike as people walk down the street. Authorities say 33 people were killed, and this man recording a video when a missile strikes. After taking the city of Kherson in the south, Russian troops are now bearing down on 2 more cities, including Odessa, an apparent attempt to seal off Ukraine from the Black Sea. In Kyiv, Ukrainian forces are digging in, raising barriers to brace for an attack. ABC's Ian Pannell is there.
Defences are now being set up across the city. Concrete barricades, tank traps, as the city prepares for a Russian assault.
Later, Ian met with a defiant President Zelensky in a secret location.
For how long can you hang on?
I don't know, he replied. And Zelensky was adamant when asked if he would leave the country.
No.
After a second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine, both sides agreed to allow humanitarian corridors to evacuate civilians.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is calling on Russians to, quote, take out President Putin. Graham tweeted, the only way this ends is for somebody in Russia to take this guy out. You would be doing your country and the world a great service. Critics called the tweet reckless. Let's turn now to the increase in gas prices. Some drivers are now paying $6 per gallon in parts of the U.S. ABC's M. Wynn is here now with more. M, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Oil prices have been skyrocketing since the war began, and now there are new calls from Capitol Hill to hit Russia with even tougher sanctions. This morning, gas prices climbing higher.
$3.93 a gallon.
And higher.
We're over $4 already.
And higher.
$4.55.
States along the West Coast, as well as Hawaii, Alaska, and Illinois, now seeing the cost of gas average at least $4 per gallon. Los Angeles now averaging more than $5, while one gas station in Oregon is charging more than $6.20. In Georgia, prices are up 20 cents in the last week. One man was arrested, accused of drilling holes into cars to siphon gas. The White House blames the higher prices solely on the Russian war.
The volatility in the oil markets is a direct result of the fact that President Putin invaded Ukraine.
But many Republicans insist the Biden administration's policies against more drilling here at home are also to blame. Despite the surge in prices, some lawmakers on both sides of the aisle want even tougher restrictions on Russian supplies.
I'm all for that. Ban it.
Ban the oil.
Ban the oil come from Russia. Yep.
But President Biden says that would only drive prices higher.
He looks at this through is how can we maximize impact on President Putin while minimizing it on the American people.
President Biden did announce new sanctions Thursday against the Russian oligarchs close to Vladimir Putin.
I'm announcing that we're adding dozens of names to the list, including one of Russia's wealthiest billionaires, choking off access to technology, as well as cutting off access to the global financial system.
Experts say banning Russian oil may not make that much of a difference anyway, since major companies like BP and Shell have already cut ties with Russia. Andrew?
All right, Em, thank you.
A jury in Kentucky has acquitted a former police officer in connection with a botched police raid that killed Breonna Taylor. Brett Hankinson was one of 3 officers who burst into Taylor's apartment and opened fire in 2020. Tests proved that he did not fire the bullets that killed Taylor. Instead, he was accused of endangering her neighbors by firing through walls and windows, but he testified tearfully that he did nothing wrong.
California's governor has unveiled a plan to offer more services to homeless people struggling with mental illness and addiction, but it means some people may be forced to receive care against their will through court-ordered psychiatric treatment, medication, and housing. Many advocates for the homeless oppose the plan, calling it a violation of civil rights.
Time now for a look at your Friday weather. Snow is expected in the Sierra Nevada today, where this massive boulder is blocking Highway 50 into Lake Tahoe after a rock slide. There's no word on when the highway will reopen. On the radar, Southern California will see rain and thunderstorms today. Up to 18 inches of snow could fall in the mountains outside of LA before the storm system moves into the Rockies, striking today's high temperatures, 40s around the Great Lakes, 30s in the Northeast, and mild across much of the South today, 77 Dallas.
Coming up, the collision on the moon today.
Also had new trouble for the teacher caught slapping a student after arguing about a sweatshirt.
And what we're learning about the California mother now accused of making up a story about being kidnapped so she could stay with her ex-boyfriend.
Good Friday morning. Great to have you streaming with us. I'm Will Gans. America This Morning will be right back. But first, here's today's two extra minutes of news just for you that we couldn't squeeze into the show. We begin with the NFL suspending any remaining COVID protocols effective immediately. The league telling all 32 teams they can drop masks and testing requirements even for unvaccinated players. Teams must still follow state and local laws and must have a facility available to test anyone reporting COVID symptoms. Turning now to OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma reaching a settlement Thursday over its role in the nation's deadly opioid crisis. The Sackler family members who own the company boosting their cash contribution to as much as $6 billion. This deal follows an earlier settlement that was appealed by 8 states and Washington, D.C. In all, the settlement could be worth more than $10 billion over time. And now to new video of police and fire departments in Michigan rescuing a dog stranded in the icy Detroit River. Lucy, the Labradoodle, falling into the river, managing to climb onto a chunk of ice until rescuers finally used a catch pole and carried her to safety. Warm blankets and belly rubs waiting for her, I'm sure. And finally, on a Friday, check out this video of New York probationary firefighters out for their annual Spirit Run. This year, carrying Ukrainian flags along with the usual American flags. The run is a final celebration before the group graduates, and they used it as a show of solidarity and support for the people and the first responders of Ukraine. Wow, heroes celebrating heroes. You love to see that. Well, that's today's Two More. I'm Will Gans. Thank you so much for streaming with us, and happy Friday. More America This Morning is coming right up.
A 3-ton piece of space junk is set to smash into the far side of the moon today. Scientists say the discarded section of a rocket could carve out a crater 66 feet wide. Telescopes won't be able to capture the moment. It could take weeks before satellite images confirm that crash.
An SUV plowed through the wall of this preschool in Northern California. Police in the city of Anderson say 19 children and 1 worker inside suffered a range of injuries. 1 child was briefly trapped under the vehicle. Investigators say the driver was not impaired. And a teacher from Indiana seen slapping a student last week has now been arrested. The one-time teacher of the year could be charged with felony battery. Officials say the two were arguing over the boy's hooded sweatshirt. The school board earlier this week allowed the teacher to retire early with his pension.
We turn now to a California mother under arrest, accused of making up a story about being kidnapped. Police say it was all part of her plot to go live with her ex-boyfriend. Here's ABC's Andrew Fuji.
This morning, stunning allegations that the California mom who claimed she was abducted 6 years ago made it all up. Sherry Papini, now in custody and facing charges of lying to police. The complaints alleging this was a false narrative Papini fabricated. In truth, Papini was staying with a former boyfriend and harmed herself to support her false statements. There was a frantic search for Papini in Northern California after she went for a run in November of 2016 and never came home. Her husband, desperate to find his wife and mother to their 2 young children.
I'm getting very angry and frustrated, and I'm scared for my wife.
A few weeks later, Papini was found by a truck driver who saw her on a freeway with chains and bindings around her body. Papini claimed 2 Hispanic women abducted her at gunpoint, beat her, and threatened to sell her to a man while keeping her in a closet. But she managed to escape. Her husband recounting the trauma he believed she went through.
She literally lived through hell. The things she told me that she did, acting like she was tucking in her kids.
But authorities now revealing in a criminal complaint that DNA evidence recovered from Papini's clothing she was wearing when she returned matched her ex-boyfriend's DNA, and he admitted to investigators that he helped Papini run away. They say the ex-boyfriend also said Sherry Papini created the injuries while staying with him, including hitting herself to create bruises and burning herself on her arms. Authorities say Papini, who also collected $30,000 from a victim assistance fund, continues to stand by her story. If convicted on the charges in this case, she faces up to 25 years in prison. Andrew, Mona.
Andrew, thank you. Coming up, Americans' obsession with trivia, how Netflix is now trying to capitalize.
The first 2 very different views of the war in Ukraine. We'll hear from people traveling back to Ukraine to fight, and we talk to the people in Russia who support Vladimir Putin. Next.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a 3rd hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you. This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes.
You got intrigued to see fantasy. It's all there.
Can't peel your eyes away.
Any comments, Elizabeth? Any comments, Elizabeth?
God bless you, girl boss.
The new man in her life, the new baby. And now, as Elizabeth Holmes awaits sentencing, what you haven't seen, haven't heard.
Behind the scenes, it was an absolute mess.
My jaw dropped.
Part of the human trait, being fascinated by a train wreck. I was blown away.
The new 2020 tonight on ABC.
It was an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do they capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcasts.
National parks are incredibly safe places. A crime will happen.
My wife is full and she's in really critical condition.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic accident. There's still a lot of questions we need to ask.
There were small things that didn't totally add up.
This is two lives for Harold that have died now. I was shocked. Something's not right.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
If you're just joining us, the fire at a Ukrainian nuclear plant is now out. The plant came under fire from Russian forces on Thursday. Meanwhile, back in Moscow, lawmakers today could impose new rules on the media.
Any anti-government reporting could soon be punishable by up to 15 years in jail, but the Kremlin's already strict control over the media is shaping how Russians view this war. This morning, with more than 1 million Ukrainians having fled their country, more men and women are rushing into Ukraine to fight the Russians.
We don't need people who really want to learn or do something bad.
A display of bravery and defiance, one of many seen among Ukrainians in recent days. From Kyiv to Lviv, everyday people taking a stand against the invading army.
There's a do-or-die moment for Ukraine.
Citizens lining up for guns.
There's shotguns and the expensive sniper rifles.
Hundreds staying in harm's way to help save their country.
It's impossible to stay at home now. You just have to do something to help.
But this invasion is not so cut and dry for those on the other side of the war. Like these Russians who tell ABC's James Longman they support what they believe is an effort to free their neighbors from what they've been told is fascist control of Ukraine.
This lady has just stopped us to say that she completely believes in what the government is saying they're doing in Ukraine, but she wants to make it very clear they love Ukrainians. They don't want to see them hurt. They love Ukraine. Love Ukraine. Yeah. That's the direction they're coming at it from. This is not about hurting Ukraine. They want to say that Russia is trying to save Ukraine, and that is exactly what Vladimir Putin has been telling his people for days, weeks, and months.
For those living through the horrors of the invasion, a simple message.
What would you say to the Russian women your age on the other side?
I think turn off their TV sets and listen to us and maybe open their eyes and look to the